Here's Tim with Security National Mortgage. Today, we would like to give you an update, brief update on the market. And Tim has a great announcement for buyers who are looking to purchase this year. First, I would like to give you an update on what's going on in Atlanta market. Here's the summary of it. We still have very strong sellers market. If you follow this, the comparison I put together for you for July 2021 comparing to July 2022, most of the data still shows that it's a strong sellers market. Some positions we need to keep watching. We have about 17% decrease in closed sales in comparison to the previous period, and decrease in pending sales. So what it means for sellers that they need to price their homes strategically. What does strategically means? Pricing it not according to the current market condition, but pricing it based on the market we're heading towards. How do we know what market we're going into? We need to watch the data, and you can find this information on our Facebook. I'll show you briefly. On our Facebook page, we go even more granular on the data. We're watching every week and comparing the data so we can advise our buyers and sellers. What does this market means for the buyers? Most interesting data that you probably won't be able to find in the general updates, whoever provides them, is number of showings per each listing. You see a decrease about 30%, which means buyers' traffic has decreased. And what it means for you if you're the buyer and looking for a new home this year, this is your window of opportunity. There are no more multiple offers. Sellers are more negotiable, and you can find yourself a better deal. But now is the time to give floor to Tim Brown, my lender, who I've been working with for probably 17 years, if not more. He has helped all of my buyers and sellers to achieve their goals. Tim, welcome.
Thank you, Veronika. Well, the thing that I think is most important now is everybody's wondering where rates are going and how do I protect myself if I'm looking at houses and rates may be on the rise. One of the programs that we're providing as a benefit for your potential buyers is a loan program called a rate buydown, and that basically means that you, the buyer, if they were to buy a home and their mortgage rate was, let's just say 5.5%, which is about where it is today, this buydown would give that buyer a 1-year reduction in rate by 1%. So what does that mean? That means for the first 12 payments, that would be a 4.5% mortgage interest rate. It's not life-changing, but certainly it's giving you a window. The way I look at it is, let's say rates drop by the end of next year into the 4s. So now you're at 4.5%, and instead of having to worry about going back to 5.5% in year 2, the opportunity to refinance may be there before the end of next year, as an example. There's no guarantee of that, of course, but it gives you that benefit of the lower payment for that year. The important thing is there's usually a couple.
Buy down means that if I'm a buyer, I need to buy some points.
Yes, I was heading in that. Yes, so the buy down is one that typically the buyer or the seller would pay that cost, because there's no such thing as a free lunch, as the saying goes, and nobody's going to give you a 1% rate reduction for a year at no cost. In this case, though, I, along with my company, we're going to provide the buy in the buy down. So in other words, a 4.5% would be the same as if you just got a 5.5% interest rate with no buy down. In other words, the closing cost, you're still going to have closing costs. The cost of that 1 year buy down of 1% is what we are going to cover as a promotional idea, that getting into the house this year, or let's say for the payments in next year, are going to be, in the 4.5% range. Again, not forever, but it gives you that window to hopefully find the opportunity to refinance, or frankly, you've saved over the course of, depending on the size of the mortgage, you may have saved, $2,000 to $4,000 in payments by having that buy down in place. So there's no downside to wanting to do it. And it's a promotion that we're providing to Veronika and her team for the next, from now through the end of the year. So
that's amazing. This year my buyers were shopping around, struggling to get even quarter percentage discount in order to afford to buy a new home. So let me just repeat it. First 12 months, the rate is going to be 1% less than
right.
the market rate at the time of the contract, right? Putting a contract.
Yeah, when we lock the loan, again, I'm just taking the 5.5% as a prevailing rate. Obviously, whatever day it is, it could be different. But yes, it would be at that rate, would be the lock. So that would be called what we call the note rate, meaning that's going to be the life of the loan interest rate. And so basically what we're doing is we're buying the 1% reduction up front, we being, in this case, the lender. Typically the buyer or the seller may be able to do that, but in this case, we're taking it upon ourselves to cover that cost, to help your clients feel like they're getting number one, they're getting something that they wouldn't get otherwise, but secondly, having that first payment a little bit lower makes it easier for people to decide to jump into the market and not wait for everything to go down in rate. So this gives them a chance to do that.
Great, awesome. That's wonderful. Can we illustrate with some dollar amount on a certain purchase price? The savings, the monthly savings.
Yeah, it's an approximate 1%. You're going on a $450,000 loan. You're going to save approximately $250 a month. Again, it depends on the actual interest rate, but let's just say it's $250 a month times 12. What is that? It's about $3,000 approximately. So
wow.
If I were to do that off the top of my head, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's approximately $250. But it's going to be that for 12 payments, and then obviously the 13th payment would go back up to the normal 5.5% interest rate.
That's a nice family vacation, or if you want to put it back into the house for some improvements that can, stretch a long way.
Agreed. There's another program that it's something that is, it's not as, it's a different way of looking at the same issue, but it's a benefit to buyers. We have now a 90-day lock and shop, we call it, meaning you don't have to own a house, or you don't have to have a house under contract, but we lock your rate, and then you find a house. Obviously, if the loan amount's a little bit different than when we initially locked it, that's not a big deal. The benefit to this, though, is if the rate goes down during that 90 days, you have a one-time float down option to the lower rate. If it goes up, you're protected. If it goes down, you have some upside. So in this case, in this second example, this would be a permanent rate, obviously, because let's just say, again, you're 5.5 today, we lock it, and then in a month and a half, 2 months, you find a house, you're closing at the end of, let's say, October, and October 1st comes around or thereabouts, and we see that the rate is now 5%. again, maybe that doesn't happen, but as an example, you would be able to lock that your rate would be able to be reduced down to that market rate before closing. So in other words, you're getting protection on the upside with potential upside in terms of potential benefit with the downside, getting the rates dropping during that period of time. So a lot of people like that because it protects them from worrying about the entire time they're looking for houses. The rate goes up every week. Oh my God, do I want to buy? Do I, not? It solves that problem.
Change. If I can say, I'm not a lender, but working with buyers, they're constantly watching the rates, shopping almost weekly, and locking the rate in anticipation of for free, right before a lender would charge.
Right. There's no fee. That's right.
And you have to have a contract, right?
No, you do not. No, you do not. Now, again, it's a 90-day lock, so the assumption is, which you can argue, given the way the housing market was, it may take more than 90 days to get an offer accepted. So that could be a problem. But I think, given what you said about the market, that we would be in a position where they would probably find something within 60 days that they would be willing to make an offer on and get it accepted. So in that case, if the rate is, the market rate has dropped, we can lower the rate to whatever that market rate is at that point in time. So it's again, there's no guarantee that's going to happen, but to me, it's protecting your worst case scenario risk of rates going up while you're trying to find a house. That's the worst feeling in the world. You're like, okay, now I can't buy as much house today because rate went up 0.5% from last week, and it's just, psychologically, I think it puts people at ease, is what I would say.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great opportunity, guys. You really need to take advantage of it if you're looking to move into a new home before, holidays. Tim, what I see some degree of buyer fatigue, we call it, right now. Some contracts falling apart because buyers change their mind and want to wait to see what happens next year. I know it's a crystal ball question, but if you had that, question, how would you answer it? Should we wait?
Just from a rate perspective or from a home price perspective?
From the rate perspective.
I think rates, again, just without getting into all the details, the inflation that we're seeing now, that the economy has had, gas prices, et cetera, is what's pushing and driving rates higher. It's hard for me to know or to suggest that in a year that we would have dramatically lower inflation, but it's possible. But the point is, I don't anticipate rates dramatically changing much higher, nor do I think you're going to see us back at 4% by Christmas. I think we're probably in this range until things settle out and we have less inflationary pressure that's pushing everything higher, including interest rates. So come next year, we're still going to be looking at rates being between 5 and 6%. That would, again, don't hold me to that, but that's what most analysts are saying. They don't see a dramatic change in either direction. The opportunity, though, I guess the way I would also frame it is, if you are in a market where there's fewer buyers, or that are competing for the same house, hopefully the savings are going to be on the price of the home and the purchase price versus what we had experienced earlier this year, where there may have been 3 or 4 buyers at least making offers on the same home, which made not just the rate higher, but obviously the purchase price would be, in many cases, higher than the actual list price. So I don't know that that's going to happen, but that's more your area than mine, just based on. Right. And here's what I would like to show our viewers. And thank you, by the way, for answering the question about the rates. The other component of that waiting pattern, why buyers want to wait until next year in hope that prices will drop, or as some YouTube smart heads saying, the market is crashing, wait or do something.
So here's what you need to know if you need to improve your living conditions somehow. So the median sales price has increased by 17%. What it means to you if you are a homeowner. You have more equity to tap into. You can have a larger down payment on a new home or investment home, or do some home improvements to make your house and sell it very show ready, and sell it at a higher price point. Sellers are still getting over the asking price, and this year compared to last, they're still getting even more than in 2021, which is an indication of a strong sellers market. What needs to happen for that strong sellers market to become severe buyers market next year is this: months of supply. This is how much supply increased from July 2021 to July 2022 by only 0.4%. So it's 33% increase. This is an indication of still very strong sellers market. How do we know? A balanced market is measured by 6 months worth of inventory. How quickly can we reach to balanced and tip over to buyer's market, which is more than 6 months worth of inventory, what we had back in 09, 2020, 10. I don't know if it can happen as quickly as next year. So prices are falling down. That's a crystal ball question, but we do not anticipate major change. They may stop increasing as fast as they were before, like 17% increase compared to 2021, but falling down, we don't have any indication. Would you agree, Tim?
Well, yes. I mean, it still amazes me that it's still, the market hasn't changed that much. The only thing I would say is I have fewer, when people are buying, it's instead of having 10 competitors, there may be one other person making an offer. So I guess is that a little kernel of good news in that? So that's the only thing I would say that I've noticed, at least.
Yeah, buyers do have more opportunities these days, and it's our job to guide you and give you all the information so you can make an informed decision. Tim, thank you so much for being with us and for giving those breaking news. We're gonna post details on Facebook at Barash Veronika Real Estate Team, and also on our Google page. So any questions, please feel free. We will be happy to discuss in greater detail. Thank you for staying with us today. Everyone, have a wonderful day.
Take care.